Step into the studio. I'm Tamara Brown. I'm joined by Mike Dussault and Evan Lazar. Guys, how important is it for this Patriots team to have short-term memory going into this game versus the Saints?
I think it's everything, Tamara. I mean, I think they have to forget about what happened in Dallas, put that game behind them, maybe chalk it up to just one of those games a year where you know you just don't have it. I know the lopsided result of the score is making everybody really react and maybe overreact to this loss. The Patriots have to ignore that noise this week, focus on the Saints, and try to get a much-needed win to turn the season around.
Mind of a goldfish, right? It happened. Bury the ball, do what you got to do, move on. I think that's all the Patriots can do this week. Like Mike said, is that who you are? Is that not? Let us worry about that, right? Like let the media and the fans talk about that over and over again. For the team itself, though, it was one game. You have to look at it that way and turn the page and move on.
In that game, though, there were two more injuries that added to the list that seems about as long as a CVS receipt now. Mike, can you talk about how the injuries are plaguing this Patriots team?
I mean, it's just an incredible bummer. I mean, Matthew Judon, he's everything to this team as far as a pass rusher, as far as an off-the-field leader. His press conferences every week, he, speaks from the heart about the team, and you feel like the team rallies behind him. And then you have Christian Gonzalez, who's just coming off Defensive Rookie of the Month. So such a promising start to his career. We're still waiting to see how long these guys are going to be out, but it does sound like they're going to be out a while, and that means that some other players are going to have to step up and replace two of the biggest playmakers on defense. It's a huge blow if they have to go the rest of the season without those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, Judon in himself, like Mike said, I think the energy and just the bravado that he brings, he's the one that brings confidence, I feel like, to this team. He's a Pro Bowler. He's been a multi-time Pro Bowler for the Patriots. And without him out there, you have to have some of these younger guys step up. And in some ways, as much as you're going to miss Matthew Judon, I am looking forward to seeing some of these younger players take on bigger roles, mainly Keon White, but also a player like Josh Uche, who's been more of a situational pass rusher throughout his career. Maybe now he gets an opportunity to play on all three downs. So let's see what some of these younger guys can bring to the table, and some other players that maybe didn't play as much with Judon out there. And maybe you find some players that can be guys for you in 2024 and beyond, instead of just looking at the 2023 season.
Looking at this matchup versus the Saints, the Patriots and the Saints are both offensively challenged. Mike, I want to start with you. What's the game plan to get the offense going?
Well, I mean, I think you'd ideally love to keep them contained like you had last week with Derek Carr, really struggling to move the ball. But it's hard to look at the weapons that they have on that offense with Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. It's tough. And, I mean, they're going to have to figure out a way to keep those guys contained. You're wondering, Alvin Kamara came back last week, did a little rusty, and had a couple nice third down pickups. But they can't let those guys get loose because those guys, I feel like, are the X factor. Those are the players the Patriots don't have. Both teams have very good defenses, even with the Patriots' injury issues, but not allowing those weapons on the Saints to get free, big scores. We know what happens when the Patriots seem to get in a hole these days, so they have to prevent those guys from making those big plays.
Yeah, see what happens with Derek Carr's shoulder. I think last week he set a career high in throws behind the line of scrimmage, a lot of dump offs, a lot of screens. This week, is he feeling a little bit better to push the ball down the field? Because that's how Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense really exposed the Patriots, especially once Christian Gonzalez went down. But even before he went down, it was throwing out to the outside against man coverage, guys that are playing that really shouldn't be playing because of injuries, like you said. And that was how they got exposed a little bit defensively. So does Derek Carr have that ability to do that? We know he's got some weapons that Mike just broke down, especially a guy like Chris Olave, who can make you pay for being a little bit shorthanded in the secondary. But is he going to be able to hold up in the pocket with that shoulder to be able to make those throws outside the numbers?
When you look at the Saints defense, what do you think the game plan is for Mac Jones to be able to bounce back?
I think this is one of those weeks where you maybe have to focus on yourself a little bit more than, I mean, look, they've got a really good defense. They've got veterans, Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan, some really good players on this defense, Marshon Lattimore in the secondary. So they have talent. I think it's just about the Patriots maybe trying to find some rhythm on the ground. We've been saying that every week right now, and it's, unfortunately hasn't come to fruition, but they just have to take what's there, play the simple game, try to stack some success early. I think if they put too much on themselves, they could be in for a bad result with this defense. I have a lot of respect for what the Saints are defensively, and it's not going to be easy sledding for the Patriots offense.
Yeah, they play a lot of man coverage too defensively, when they have the guys to do it, with like a Marshon Lattimore being that number one guy. So that's where the Patriots' kryptonite has been this season, is playing and defeating man coverage both as the quarterback and as the receivers in the offense, like the whole offense. Like, I don't think it's just one thing you can really point to, but they just simply haven't been productive against man coverage. So if the Saints play a lot of that man, like, how are the Patriots going to combat that? How are they going to get their receivers open to create those opportunities down the field? I expect a lot of pressure from New Orleans. I think they do have a pretty good pressure package and a lot of man coverage.
When you look at a stingy defense like the Saints, you might have to lean on a little bit more field goals. What's the confidence in the rookie going into this game?
I think you got to keep your confidence in him. You know, like anytime you draft a rookie, you got to expect that there's going to be some ups and downs. And certainly Chad Ryland hasn't had the easiest of attempts to get his career going. It seems like every single time he's at midfield or beyond trying to kick it. So you got to maintain confidence in him and just understand this is a young kicker. Same with you know, Bryce on the other side of the ball, or, you know, punting the ball. You just have to have some patience and hope. But like you said, I think if this is a low-scoring, tight game, you're going to need him to get some field goals. Hopefully they get him a little bit closer and make some chip shots.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of his misses have been from plus 50. I'm not going to get on him too much for missing before the half last week was that a 57-yard field goal in some rainy conditions in the Meadowlands. So I don't necessarily know if those kicks, you hold those against him. But I think one thing you do see with this team, last year, even with all their offensive woes, they still were able to kick a lot of field goals and have Nick Folk make those field goals. So if you're not going to get the ball into the end zone, and that's a big difference. I mean, look, the game last week wasn't decided by the kicker, we know that, but with the Jets game, that was a 5-point game that they missed 2 field goals. So if they make those 2 field goals, it's a much more comfortable result, and you're not holding your breath on that Hail Mary at the end of the game. So they definitely need to find ways to move the ball a little bit deeper into scoring territory, so he's not kicking it from 50 plus all the time, but they have to have a kicker they can rely on, because they might not be a team that's lighting it up in the end zone.
Thank you guys for helping me preview this Week 5 matchup versus the Saints. For more coverage leading up to the game, go to Patriots.com and Patriots YouTube.